The couple who built their entire brand on leaking royal secrets to Oprah, to Netflix, to Spotify, to anyone with a microphone and a checkbook, that couple is now demanding that Netflix launch an internal investigation to find the people who leaked information about them. They want names, they want consequences, and apparently they want all of this delivered with a straight face. We are covering the Harkles Netflix leak meltdown, their book publisher saying we are done, Meghan's Hollywood comeback that has Harry losing sleep, the Diana clothing line backlash that just got worse, and why the timing of their Australia trip is about to make King Charles very, very unhappy. Let's get down to it. Welcome back, my Royal Rogues. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the Royal Rogue, and my friends, you cannot write comedy this good. You just can't. Let's start with Netflix, because this one is a masterpiece of irony. But before we begin, I need you to be aware of the absolute breaking news that Sky News reported Harry being sued for defamation by his former charity, Centebally. This story is in development, so rest assured I will give you more details as soon as they are available. But again, according to Closer magazine, Harry and Meghan are demanded that Netflix conduct a full internal investigation into who has been leaking details about their deteriorating relationship with the streaming giant. An insider said they want names, and they want to see real consequences handed down for what they say was a targeted attack on them. A targeted attack. Let me just sit with that for a moment. This is the same couple that sat down with Oprah and told the world that someone in the royal family asked what color their baby's skin would be. The same couple that produced a 6-part Netflix horror-mentary airing every piece of private family laundry they could find. The same Harry who wrote an entire memoir, The Daily, in private conversations with his father, his brother, and even the Queen. That couple now wants to hunt down leakers. And the best part, the leak they are upset about was the Variety report, the one where 6 Netflix insiders independently described the same internal reality. We are done. 3 words that captured what everyone in the industry already knew. And the Harkles' response was not to reflect, not to course correct, not to look at themselves in the mirror. The response was, find the traitors! And let me remind you what the Variety piece actually revealed. Sources described Meghan turning off her Zoom camera during meetings when she heard ideas she didn't like. They described Harry being talked over mid-sentence. They described A-list talent and directors being hesitant to work with the couple. These were not anonymous trolls on the internet. These were people inside the building, people who worked with the Harkles directly, and they all said the same thing. And the sausages' response to all that? Not introspection, not accountability, a demand for heads to roll. This is so perfectly on brand that it hurts. When Meghan's cooking show underperformed, it wasn't the concept, it was the trolls. When The Retreat couldn't fill seats, it wasn't the pricing, it was saboteurs. And now when Netflix employees tell the truth about what it's like to work with this too, it's not a business reality, it's a targeted attack. And meanwhile, their polo drama is reportedly being described internally as make or break. An insider said that if the ratings are strong, the partnership survives. If they are weak, it becomes very difficult for Netflix leadership to continue backing them. So naturally, instead of pouring every ounce of energy into making that show succeed, Harry and Meghan are spending their time demanding an investigation into hurt feelings. Yeah, priorities. But now, speaking of burned bridges, because this next one is spectacular. Penguin Random House. Remember Penguin Random House? The publisher that gave Harry $20 million for Spare is reportedly done with the sausages. Completely done. According to insiders, the publisher will never release another book by either of them. And here's why this is so devastating for them. Harry's memoir sold over 6 million copies. 6 million! But even with those numbers, the publisher reportedly still hasn't earned out. The advance was so enormous and the marketing and printing costs so high that even with one of the best-selling memoirs in recent history, the math does not work. They were, and I'm quoting, financially burned. But it gets much better, because Meghan apparently pitched 2 book ideas. The first was a book on leadership and philanthropy. A book on leadership. From the woman who turns off her Zoom camera when she hears feedback she doesn't like. From the woman whose foundation went through employees like tissues. From the woman whose Netflix deal, Spotify deal, and now publishing deal have all collapsed under the weight of her management style. That woman wanted to write a book on leadership. Penguin looking at that pitch and said, you know what? No, thank you. And the second pitch, well, allegedly, a divorce book. Well, I'm not making this up. Meghan Markle pitched a book about divorce. Now, her team says it was going to be about helping women navigate life's transitions. Meghan knows about transitions, right? A lot. But Penguin Random House looked at both pitches and said, no. And on top of that, insiders said that executives are fielding near-weekly calls from Camp Sausages asking for more money, asking for royalties that don't exist because the advance was so massive they will never earn them back. So think about that. You sell 6 million copies of a book, and your publisher still doesn't want to work with you again. That is not bad luck. That is a business relationship so toxic that even record-breaking sales couldn't save it. Netflix done, Spotify done, Penguin Random House done. What's next? 3 multi-million-dollar partnerships. 3 bridges burned. And the Duchess of Sausages is apparently still making weekly phone calls asking where the money is. So at what point does a pattern become a diagnosis? Which brings us to what might be the most fascinating pivot of the week. Because with every professional door closing, Meghan has apparently decided to walk back through the one she left open 8 years ago. She's going back to acting. Her first role will be a cameo as herself in a film called Close Personal Friends, a comedy starring Jack Quaid, Brie Larson, Lily Collins, and Henry Golding. Produced by Amazon MGM Studios, and Jack Quaid, the son of Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan, star of The Boys, described working with Meghan as insane. Now, he meant it positively, of course. He called experience working with the ensemble incredible. But that word, insane, is doing a lot of heavy lifting, and I suspect it might mean different things depending on who you ask at Netflix. But the acting return goes beyond one cameo. Page 6 reports that casting directors are bombarding Meghan with offers. Okay, fair enough. A senior casting agent in Los Angeles said the interest has prompted the likes I have never seen in my 3 decades in the business. Right. Horror films, soap operas, even what insiders are calling provocative roles. Okay. And what about Harry? Harry is reportedly riddled with worry. An insider told Reader that the idea of Meghan returning to Hollywood in a big way, particularly in more provocative roles, has made Harry deeply uneasy. He believes it could hurt their brand and undermine the progress they have tried to make since stepping back from royal duties. No shit. I'm sorry. Another source said that despite his anxiety, he supports her. But there is a real underlying fear about what a full Hollywood comeback could bring and how it might change their dynamic. Now, I want to be fair here. Meghan was an actress before she was a duchess. Acting is a legitimate career, but the timing is everything. She is not returning to acting from a position of strength. She is returning because Netflix dropped her, Spotify dropped her, Penguin Random House dropped her, her lifestyle brand is struggling, and her cooking show was cancelled. So this is not a triumphant comeback. This is the last door that hasn't been slammed shut. And I think Harry knows it. And while we are on the subject of doors, let's talk about one that should probably stay closed, because today critics have intensified their response to Meghan's reported plan to launch a clothing line inspired by Princess Diana. I covered the initial reports yesterday, but as of today, the backlash is escalating. A source quoted by Reality T called the project calculated and cynical. Another said that drawing so directly on Diana's image meant the project is likely to attract accusations. It is cashing in on Diana's tragedy. Because it is. And the word on the street is that even longtime Meghan supporters are struggling to defend this one. Because here's the thing, you cannot spend 6 years publicly attacking the institution that Diana dedicated her life to, drag Diana's surviving son through a tell-all memoir, and then turn around and monetize Diana's wardrobe. The white shirt, the denim, the belt, all of that, those are not just fashion choices. They are symbols of a woman the world loved and lost. And Meghan's relationship with that legacy is not one of stewardship. It's more like extraction. The Fashion Insider told Reader that Meghan understands how powerful Diana's image still is, and that is commercially viable. Yeah, that is the phrase they chose. Not personally meaningful, not a tribute to Harry's mother. No, commercially viable. That tells you everything you need to know about how this woman views the people around her, alive or dead. Cash. And finally, let's talk about timing, because the Haracle's Australia trip just acquired a new layer of audacity. Harry speaks in Melbourne on April 16th. And Meghan headlines her retreat in Sydney from the 17th through the 19th. And 5 days later, on April 21st, the world will mark what would have been Queen Elizabeth II's 100th birthday. The centenary is a massive event. A memorial garden is opening in Regent's Park, planted with lily of the valley, the Queen's favorite flower. A fashion exhibition featuring 200 garments, including the coronation gown, is debuting at Buckingham Palace. Commemorative coins have been minted. The entire nation is preparing to honor a woman who gave 70 years of service to the crown. And Harry, the Queen's grandson, the woman who loved him, who reportedly told him all in or all out, will be on the other side of the planet doing a paid keynote about workplace burnout. And it doesn't stop there. Prince Louis turns 8 on April 23rd. William and Catherine celebrate their 15th wedding anniversary on April 29th. And King Charles arrives in Washington for his historic state visit on April 27th. The first address to Congress by a British monarch in 35 years. All of this happening in the same 2-week window. And the Haracle's contribution to this period? Half-sold conference in Melbourne and a wellness retreat with stackable chairs. Richard Palmer warned that the Australia trip risks escalating tensions with King Charles precisely because of this timing. The sausages will be grabbing headlines overseas while the family they left behind marks its most emotionally significant milestones of the year. The Queen's centenary, Louis' birthday, William's and Catherine's anniversary, Charles' state visit, and Harry will be nowhere near any of it. But I don't think Harry sees it that way. I don't think he connects those dots. He's a bit blockhead. Because connecting them would require acknowledging that the family he walked away from is still there, still serving, still showing up, and that his absence during these moments is not freedom. It is isolation dressed up as independence. But my rogues look at the full picture this week, demanding investigations into leakers while being history's most famous leakers, losing their book deal while pitching a book on leadership, returning to acting because every other career has collapsed, monetizing Diana's wardrobe while attacking Diana's family, and timing their Australian payday to coincide with the Queen's centenary. This is a historical brand in April 2026. And the question is not whether it is sustainable. The question is how much longer anyone is willing to pretend that it is. Well, what do you think about this, Rogies? Is their Netflix investigation demand the most ironic thing the Harkles have ever done? Do you think Meghan's acting return is a real career move or a desperate play? Let me know in the comments. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the Royal Rogue. Much love and bliss.